Why did it autocorrect? Let me try that again. My bad. I forget. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. Hold on. Do we time them out for skibbity? There you go. That's what it. Let's try this again. Go ahead and vote. Let's see those votes roll in. Ah! The tides are turning. They seem to be going with you. They shouldn't. Realistically, they shouldn't. For your crimes? Ooh. 80%. We're climbing. Which was a prank, a shallow attempt at a guffaw. Should have thought about that. Let me check if it's up. So, just so you know, I have been doing a giveaway. I say giveaway, but it's more like I post it and then you guys have like a chance to get it. Where, if you are a member, there is a possibility you can get one of these 3 redeemable codes for Zenless Zone Zero. So if you want one of the next 2, as soon as they pop out, consider getting a membership, is all I'm saying. Time to start writing my will. I'm going to end the poll there. It appears as though 6 votes, they have voted to time you out. I'll see you in exactly 1 minute for Skibbity. You love to see it. But yeah, if you are a ZZZ player, if you play ZZZ, and you want one of these redeemable codes I got at Comic-Con, become a member and you might get one. I'm just going to run through some general updates before we start. Tomorrow, I see a lot of you asking me when the Honkai Star Rail grind begins. It's tomorrow. Just so you know, whenever you see a time, that time is tentative. It's never like going to be exactly that, but tomorrow I'm going to see when I'm available to do this stream. Fully giving into the ways of Hoyo. Here's the thing though. You will never, ever see me What is happening right now? Come on, you can load. You can do it. Up. Don't worry about that. Whatever you see there, don't worry about that. The bottom corner of my stream, don't worry about that, right? Don't worry about that, right? I would never. Don't worry. Whatever that says, don't worry about it, man. Like, it's not there. There's nothing there at the bottom left of my screen. You know, but yeah, tomorrow I will be playing Honkai Star Rail, because I got donated, and I guess I have to do it now. I am specifically refusing to touch Genshin Impact, because I know that the moment I touch Genshin, it's over for me in society. Yeah, there's nothing there. Exactly. There's nothing there. You're so true on that count. You're so true. But yeah, no. Tomorrow's Honkai Star Rail, and for members, there will be a stream this Sunday. I'm debating whether or not it's a script writing stream or an editing stream. It might be a bit of both, as we all know. Or, more likely, I might watch Ultraman Rising on Sunday with the members. I'm still up to debate. I want to see what I feel like doing on Sunday, but I'll let you guys know. So yeah, those are general updates. How are we all doing today? How are y'all doing? Bro, about to complete the Triforce? Not unless something wacky happens at the end of this stream. Like, look at that. Like, there's nothing at the bottom left of my stream. But if there was, there might be something to it. Simply nothing at the bottom of my screen that would ever make you do that, you know? Like there's just nothing, you know? Nothing would ever happen to make me play Genshin Impact. Ever in this world, you're never gonna see me do it. Aside from the usual malarkey, it's been a relatively normal day. What is the usual malarkey for you? You can't say the usual malarkey, because sometimes the usual malarkey for half of you is like some insane stuff going on. I just realized Katawa Shoujo is available on Steam. Oh, August 15th. August 15th, I'm going to be streaming Katawa Shoujo. Fun. The donuts have been summoned. Let's go. Alright. You're doing good? I'm so mad, by the way. So I was playing ZZZ. I know. Funny thing to say nowadays. But I was playing ZZZ. And, like, I scheduled the meetings. And I swear to God, I was just hanging out, getting ready to go back to hang out with Corn. And then the time went one more thing over what I needed. And then I missed my appointment with Corn. I'm so mad. Because I had it all planned out. It's so stupid how fast interaction will like progress time in that game. Because it's like I missed an appointment with the Judy one, and I was so mad. But anyway, you know what we're here for. You know what we're here to do. Oh my God, man. Oh, we're gonna rank everything in the MCU. Oh, it's time. I had just seen Deadpool Wolverine. Deadpool Wolverine was a good movie. I actually have my review over here. Let me actually just get it. It's more convenient this way. Where is it? Ooh, there we go. So, when we rank all the shows are on here. The MCU shows are on here, and this is where I'll get a bunch of people disagreeing with me and being mad at me. Because here's the thing. For the majority of the MCU, I'm fairly positive. I've been a bit of an MCU gobbler for years, right? And, like, it's just, like, since Phase 4 started, I've been in a series of cope until I believe, like, Moon Knight came out, and that was the moment I just realized that, like, I'm kind of done. I'm kind of done with this, right? And I think that's a problem. Is that I've always been of the belief that the MCU had films that were always at worst mid. At the very worst, like, mediocre. Like, slop. But at a certain point with Phase 4, the bar got lowered. And we'll talk about it, because there are people who are delusional enough to believe that this one film is still good. There's a lot of people who are coping and believe some of the stuff in Phase 4 and 5 that's just, I believe, objectively bad is good, which is some level of cope that just bothers me genuinely. Because I feel as though when you say those ones are good, you're encouraging the bad problems of the MCU. I'm adding a haven't seen, because there are things I'm seeing on here that I haven't gotten a chance to see. If there's enough of a demand, I'll get my ass into gear editing that video, like reviewing every single MCU film in a little more depth. Like just a big dumb video of me going through every single MCU film and reviewing every single one. Like if there's enough of a demand, I'll do that. But otherwise, I don't really have... I kind of want to do this stream because I've had thoughts, especially after watching Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine, I believe, is a good movie. Deadpool and Wolverine, you'll find where I place it, is one of the better films in the MCU. And none of that is because of what it does for the MCU. Deadpool and Wolverine is a good movie because it's a Deadpool movie and not because it's an MCU film. Deadpool and Wolverine is a good film because it is a finale to the Fox series of films like X-Men, whatever. I have watched Secret Invasion, Shion, and I'll talk about Secret Invasion. Oh, I got thoughts on Secret Invasion. You know what I like about this, though? Wait, did they separate Loki and Loki Season 1, Loki Season 2? Because I have very different thoughts about Loki Season 1 and Loki Season 2. Damn it! They didn't. Okay. That causes a problem. Because, like, my rating of Loki is going to be harder to do when I consider them, like, Seasons 1 and Season 2, like, the same thing. That makes it more complicated. Okay. We'll just do this. Let me try to, like, squeeze this in more. Alright, so here's what we'll do. Slide down. There we go. Alright, so here's what we'll do. We'll just go ahead and start. And again, this is a tier list stream. Do not expect me to have the most coherent thoughts about every single thing on here. Okay, so yeah, so like again, if you're one of those people who out there who really holds people's stream opinions to a high percentage, you're gonna get me saying a lot of shit that might be contradicted down the line. Expect that with any streamer, really, because this is like off the dome. I can easily be swayed. I am of the opinion that I could have my opinions change about any of these down the line. Very easily. Why am I being DM'd? That's insane. Hold on. Alright, whoa, buddy. Why is it? Sorry, my I don't want it to show the top of the window. I'm trying to frame it better. Get up there! Get up there! Come on! Okay. Thanks, Streamlabs. Thanks, Streamlabs. Okay, whatever happens, happens. Okay. Let's start with Iron Man. Now, here's the thing about Iron Man, right? I believe Iron Man is, like, evident of everything that made the MCU good. The good aspects of the MCU. It turned a B-list superhero into one of the most famous, like, superheroes of all time in pop culture. The only people back in the day who knew what an Iron Man was were, like, Marvel nerds. Like, people who actually read comic books. I knew Iron Man because of the Marvel Superheroes game, because I played that on the PS. I had my uncle gave us his old PS1, so like I played that and they had Marvel Superheroes on it, like the fighting game where like it had the Hulk, Doctor Doom, like all that stuff. Not Marvel versus Capcom. Like I think it was like I don't know. My point is, I knew Iron Man from that, and I knew Iron Man from Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the cartoon, before Iron Man the movie came out. Right? Iron Man the movie single-handedly turned Iron Man into an A-list character. And again, there are visual effects in Iron Man from 2008 that still look better than most things that come out nowadays. And that is entirely due to the work culture of Iron Man. Iron Man was not supposed to be a giant success. Iron Man was conceived with the possibility of it down the line, but it was made with the goal of just being a movie. Right? Iron Man is a very, very good film. I have a few things that hold it back for me personally from being one of the betters. So ironically, I did place it exactly where I'm going to place it. It's an A-rank movie. I think Iron Man, like, Obadiah Stane is like a mediocre ass villain. It's the ending is good, but it doesn't like go as hard. Like the movie's action sequences peak when the movie glorifies the United States military, right? So like, again, cool, whatever, right? So and I think this movie had everything that like the MCU aspired to go towards. The final act villain, kind of an issue that remained in the MCU for a long time in superhero films in general, to be honest with you. But Iron Man 1 is a very good film. Now here's where I'm going to start getting some of you getting mad at me. Some of you, like, there are certain films in this lineup that when I went and rewatched them, because I have rewatched all of these recently. Everything here I rewatched recently. And I'll be so honest with you. I don't get why people don't like Iron Man 2. Or say that Iron Man 2 is lesser than Iron Man 1. When Iron Man 2 in terms of like action material, like I think the final fight with Rhodey and Tony against the army of the fucking Iron Man drones against Whiplash is just better than any fight that exists in Iron Man 1. It is a beautifully directed sequence, right? There's so many sequences in Iron Man 2 that I love that, like, it's just like they're both very good films. I love them about the same. Leaning slightly more towards Iron Man 2, Obadiah Stane's a decent villain. Justin Hammer is just so much more charismatic, so much more fun to watch, and him playing dual villain with Whiplash, who Whiplash does tie in more character-wise to Tony Stark. I think he just shouldn't have had a big dumb Iron Man suit. He kind of peaked with the fight. Again, the fight with him against the Mark 8? The one that was a suitcase. The suitcase suit-up sequence is one of the coolest suit-up sequences for a reason. And there's just stuff thematically in the movie that builds upon the first one. And just like the plot was that Tony was dying and was willing to throw away his whole life because he valued being Iron Man, saving people over because of his like baggage he had with his father and everyone him and his father hurt. Right? Like, that's part of the whole plot of the movie. I think Iron Man 2 has a lot of sauce. That, again, look at any visual effects sequence in Iron Man 2 and it beats the shit out of most films that come out nowadays. There's so much that the thing's dripping. Drowning in sauce. Good-ass film. I love that movie. How do I feel about this? I'll put it down here. I'll be really negative. Whiplash was kind of underwhelming, but then you compare him to Obadiah Stane and he's just that much better. I'll be honest with you. He's just Obadiah Stane, but better in terms of how he's treated in the movie. Again, there's certain movies when you watch the way movie films are talked about in terms of the wider discourse that I just cannot comprehend why people treat them the way they do. Speaking of which, The Incredible Hulk is a dog shit movie. The Incredible Hulk is dog shit, not because it does anything egregiously bad, but because it's like it's nothing. It is just the active viewing experience of the Incredible Hulk is like chewing on paper on purpose. It was miserable. I was miserable watching that movie because nothing like there's so much sauce in these ones, and then there's nothing in here. Drier than a desert. Drier than the Mojave Desert licking on the sand. It's so boring. The visual effects, this is when you start seeing the movies be gray. Even when you watch Iron Man and Iron Man 2, there's still a lot of visual beauty to it. Lighting, they're very pretty films. The Hulk is like a gray and brown film. The guy's a giant green man and he looks gray for most of it. It's just like, what am I doing here, right? What are we doing here? Abomination? Who cares, right? The way they handled it. And like, as a plot too, it's just, I went and saw somebody watch the Ang Lee Hulk movie. And when you watch that movie, it's like, there's some visual effect shots in here that don't look that bad. In fact, I like the fact that he's a big dumb green man because I can see him. This movie's just boring. It's just sauceless and boring and dry. I just wish it was like, I would forgive it if there was something in it that made me want to pop off, and there's nothing. Nothing in that movie. Just I would forgive it if there was something, but like if it made me miserable watching it, I'm putting it in doo-doo dog water for now. Depending on what in here that could be worse, and there's quite a few things that could be worse in here, we'll see how I feel. This is gonna piss a lot of people off. I think Thor 1's pretty good. I'll see how I feel. I think not pretty good. I think Thor 1 is alright. There's, again, a lot of sauce in this movie that's missing from a lot of newer stuff. You look at sequences where he's fighting like on the snow, like on the ice giant, what are they called? Frost giant planet, right? There's a lot of fights he has. The fight he has with the destroyer. I think there's a lot that Thor 1 has. His suit in Thor 1 looks very, very good. I like that they made him went out of its way to be like Shakespearean. There was a video talking about how like those sort of elements that of what Thor is are lost in later MCU films because they just didn't know how to handle him. And I think like that's a shame because there is stuff in there. The plot line with him and Loki and their contrasting characters of the son of the sons of Odin are so good. Him learning to like be a human as Loki desires more so to be a god, and then that contrasting is when in reality it's like Thor learned to value the relationship he had with people, and that he just wished that Loki would rely on him and stuff like that. There's so much good stuff, and that sets up one of the best character arcs in the entire franchise with Loki, right? And that's born from this movie. I feel like if you love Loki as a character and you write off Thor as a movie, you're missing the point, because none of that would have happened if the groundwork wasn't laid out in Thor. And again, the movie's kind of gray, but there's like still visuals in that movie that look better than a lot of stuff coming out right now. So here's where I've been thinking about it recently. I used to have this here, right? I really like Captain America: The First Avenger. I think Captain America: The First Avenger is a very, very good movie. But as it sits with me less and less, it's more down here. And there might be things in between it and Iron Man 1. I like it more than most people do. I like Captain America: The First Avenger more than most people do. I like the sequence where he goes and saves Bucky. I like the part where like the conflict he has with being like just a toy like a toy hero that they use as a mascot. The part where he like jumps over the grenade. I think there's a lot that it does. I just think the final act is kind of which is a trend for really these three. The final act being boring is actually not a problem for Iron Man 2 and Thor. I think Thor's final act is very good, and I think Iron Man 2's final act is very good. I think the final acts for Iron Man, Captain America, and Hulk are kind of So, again, this will be shifting throughout the entire stream depending on how I feel. I think... Oh, the very ending is the best part of Captain America First Avenger. I think the final act of him against Red Skull is kind of Yeah. There's like, okay, but it introduces like a really good theme, right? Like this is the first time we get a character theme that they start using prominently throughout. Captain America's main theme is really good. I wish they kept Thor's main theme. I really wish they kept a more consistent theme for Iron Man. But, you know, whatever. Music is a big thing that bothers me for a lot of these movies, as that gets fixed later on. Okay, so like, this isn't a controversial take, right? Like, this isn't a controversial take that The Avengers is one of the greatest superhero films of all time. Joss Whedon might be a freak, but he kind of got freaky in the directing chair. He was kind of freaky with it when he was making one of the hardest superhero films of all time. The fact that the movie is lit and colored like a TV show to make it more cartoon-esque and pop the colors out a little more is a just incredible, insane choice. You rewatch this movie and you don't start giggling like a little kid, like, you're a loser. If you watch The Avengers and don't feel joy, you're a loser. Like, I just feel like you can't watch a movie with this much sauce, with this much pure comic book cartoon action and fun and joy, and sit there and be like, it's alright. I hate you. If you talk like that, I hate you. Because this movie is so good. Again, introduces one of the most iconic superhero themes and OSTs of all time. Gives us some of the most iconic scenes of all time. The suit up. That's the secret cap. I'm always angry. You know, but take off the suit. What are you? Billionaire playboy philanthropist. You know, just all kinds of amazing scenes. Like, there was a video talk, I think it was like less than the screenplay, where he talks about like it introduces this idea of like they're saying where I think it's like where's Nick Fury. Nick Fury's asked by Coulson, and he's like, well, what do we do now? And then the title card for The Avengers shows up, and the way that every single scene transitions into one another through dialogue and theming is amazing. And you're never gonna get a movie that does sauce like that, because again, at a certain point, the MCU tried to be more edgy and serious when like, man, and then they either be edgy and serious, or in the case of Thor, Love and Thunder, they go too far in being wacky, goofy, silly, but like in a sort of like pessimistic kind of way, where this movie's all schlock. It's all goofiness, and it's not ashamed of any of it. I love this movie. Here's another hot take. I think Iron Man 3 is fine. I think Iron Man 3 is good. I think Iron Man 3's watching experience is kind of like... I get why people would enjoy it, but it lacks sauce. The final act is kind of mid. I think the fact that he's regular guy for most of it, even though I guess that, like, thematically that makes sense, is kind of... I remember somebody talking about, like, the issue with Phase 2 is the order of which these movies would come out, because the order that they come out kind of makes each one feel sort of irrelevant. That's where the complaints of, like, where the Avengers come in, because, like, what's the order for this again? It's Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, then Ant-Man. And, like, the way those are all released, like, I feel as though if Winter Soldier came out first, a lot of the complaints you'd have throughout the rest of it, where the Avengers are and why they didn't contact each other, or trust each other, would make more sense. Because the entire time you're watching Iron Man 3, you're just thinking, like, where are the Avengers? Where are they at? You know, they just formed, and they were talking about, like, let's all be together. And I get he's dealing with his PTSD. But again, the actual watching experience of Iron Man 3 is not as fun or satisfying emotionally as any of the things I have above it. I don't like Iron Man 3 as much. I also think, like, it's this Iron Man 3 is where the movies start becoming more gray. The color, the lighting is a lot more like gross as time goes on. It abandons a lot of the music given in Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2, and it gives it like a kind of theme that they never use again. Really? I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Get ready to be mad at me. Get ready to be mad at me, guys. Because I don't think Thor: The Dark World's that bad. You'll find out why. I think because the reason why I say Thor: The Dark World's not that bad is I'm saying it in comparison to what I'm about to talk about down here. Thor: The Dark World is a very, very awful movie if you're of the belief that the MCU's ceiling is way higher. And yeah, in comparison to like everything else, Thor: The Dark World is not that good. But Thor: The Dark World has the Loki character arc. It has interactions between Thor and Loki. It has a relationship between Thor and Jane, right? It has all that stuff. Like honestly, right? There's some good stuff in there. I think the scene with Thor and with Loki's death is very good. I think Loki's struggle to be accepted, and the fact that the mom is the only one who understands him is very good. And when she dies, the scene of him just in jail getting pissed off about that is just a good scene. The villain sucks. The villain's doo-doo dog water. The plot device sucks. The comedy is kind of not funny, didn't laugh. But, like, I don't hate it. I have, like, no, like, extreme or negative thoughts about it. So, like, it's just there. And I think what it sets up and does for Loki, again, Loki is the big through line of why I feel more positively about these films than anybody else does. And Thor's character, I feel better about it. In terms of, like, the overall watching experience, it was kind of like a nothing experience, to be honest with you. I just liked what it gave me and then was just straight face for the rest of the film. This next one shouldn't be controversial at all. I know everyone and their mom thinks that Captain America: The Winter Soldier is like one of the greatest superhero films of all time, because they're right. This is one of the only films where the gray lighting actually makes sense. I think a film that talks about, like, you know the gray morality, being like it's a spy thriller. It's a movie where they do a camera move that breaks the conventions of film, but does it in a thematic way that makes sense, right? Like, this movie just has a lot of sauce to it. Everyone remembers every fight scene from Captain America and Winter Soldier. The introduction of the Falcon is very good in this movie. On your left, a lot of just quotable moments from it. And even the villain works for this one because he's not just a giant, stupid bad guy. It's the government itself he's fighting against. And that's why, like, I think the direction of Phase 2 would be a lot more different if the phase started off with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Because then that explains why the characters don't interact as much, and, like, it just does so much well. I think this, like, there's very few things you can complain about with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I'm a big UFC fan, so seeing GSP in a movie like this made me, like, kick my feet like a little kid. It was crazy. This movie just does so much right, and it's easy to hate on it, being more critical of it a little more when like people are obnoxious about saying it's the best one, and like it's just better than every superhero film ever made. And it's like, no, it's not. I have one thing above it so far, and oh, hello, Jobber.
Hello? Can't listen, Busham, you need to stop lying to yourself. You are not the anti-hater. You are the king of haters. What is this?
Are you realize I'm on stream, right?
Oh, hello, stream. I came to call and just like let the stream go.
I'm not a hater, man. I've never hated anyone in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Nah. I'm looking at your name. It says anti-hater. What you talking about?
I'm not a hater though. I've just never hated.
Never hated.
Never in my life.
Well,
Oh, brother.
that seems to do a good bit, but I did just want to pop in to say hi.
All right.
Goes with awesome stuff.
All right.
Little.
Leave. Thank you. All right. So yeah, Winter Soldier. Like, if you disagree with this placement, I think you're just a loser. Because again, Captain America does have one of the better trilogies in the MCU. It's like probably second or third best. And then like the best trilogy comes along. Guardians is just that good. You trying to fail to hate ZZZ. You're right. On Sansi Archives, you're proving me right. I am the anti-hater. I never hate anyone in my life. Look, Guardians is just like... I don't like Guardians 1 as much as everybody else does. I think Guardians 1 is an example of James Gunn, like, trying to, like, slowly sneak in James Gunnisms of the way he directs. Because he is not as wacky and as all out as he could with Guardians 1. The movie is a little more gray than it realistically should be. Like, it's good. It's very good. Guardians is just the best trilogy in the MCU by far. It has it has a theme that it sticks with the entire time, and it's memorable in every movie it has. The cast is they introduce like an entire like cast of characters who are like C-list. No one knows who the Guardians of the Galaxy are before this movie came out, unless you're a comic book nerd. And it introduced it for a wider audience in such a great way, with characters that are very, very memorable. Like, again, it did hurt comics because it kind of like changed the world's perception of every single one of them, and they like the movies try to have synergy with it, whatever. But I think the casting, everything they do with it, certain fight scenes, again, the end of the movie being the dance battle to save the galaxy is again such a fun way to do it. Like, Ronan the Accuser might be a dog shit kind of boring villain, but what he ends up serving towards for the final fight and final arc is very good. Is it better than the other two movies in the trilogy? No. And I'll talk about why that is and why I prefer 2 and 3 over it. But again, Guardians is just the highlight of... Guardians and Winter Soldier are the highlights of Phase 2. By far. We're about to have another controversial take. I think Age of Ultron is good. Do I think Age of Ultron is a little bloated? Yes. Do I think it tries to introduce a little too much? Yes. Do I think that character arcs, character interaction, fight scenes, and like all of this other stuff that's in Age of Ultron that it does positively is just very good? Yes. Yeah, sure, Ultron might not be comic accurate Ultron, but he's just... In terms of villains introduced in the MCU, the only good ones were a politician, Loki, and like... And Justin Hammer, dog. So like... Ultron is up there with Loki at this point in the MCU, and still is. He's a very well handled character, even if he isn't comic accurate Ultron. I'll be honest with you, I don't think they would have handled comic accurate Ultron very well. It did sort of start the trend of like MCU jokes being constantly interfering with the action, but in this case, like, there's enough sauce in this movie to where I can excuse that. There's a lot of sauce in this movie. Like, I don't care if they're fighting a bunch of gray robots. There's just a lot of choreography choices they make in this movie that are really cool. I think the fight they have against Ultron, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch is really cool. I think the fight with the part with the train is also very good. The introduction of Vision is kind of like more quick than it should be, but it has a lot of positive elements to it. I think Ultron's problem is it's doing too much. It's doing too much, man. And I think them contractually having to kill Quicksilver because of rights is really cucked. So, like, it has problems. But none of its negatives are that big for me that I put it below anything I've put it above. Right? The watching experience of Age of Ultron is more fun, more positive than it is negative, and that's why I would put it in B over everything else. This is gonna make a bunch of you mad again. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Ant-Man's good for the same reasons that I kind of have Age of Ultron pretty high up, considering I think Ant-Man does a lot of stuff that's very fun, very good visual choices. What is my opinion on Bullet Train? I think Bullet Train is a very good and funny movie. Do I have any strong thoughts on it to make a video on it? No. What I could do is, like, I could do a stream where people like ask me my opinions on a bunch of movies and I'll just review them real quick. I could do that, well, because it could also give me an opportunity for a backlog. I could just give you like people ask me thoughts on movies and I'll just go ahead and rank them or give my reviews on them. So, like, I don't have any major thoughts about Bullet Train that would allow me to make a video on it. But I think Bullet Train's a very good movie. So again, Ant-Man does a lot. I think the sort of like character arc he goes through, the whole like theming of like being able to, like, even though you've made mistakes in the past, being able to make up for them later on in life is really good. I think people are valid in saying that there's issues with it overall. I don't mind the goofy, like, you know, like goofy side characters who are part of the security, like the convicts and stuff like that. I think they're fine. I feel like people are a lot really like super negative towards them for no reason because they don't like the humor, and I'm like, I think they end up being part of a really good joke that happens at the end of the movie. And, you know, I like Paul Rudd's Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, which is a shame given what happens later on. But, like, you know, I think the first Ant-Man is good. You are not going to like what I say about another Ant-Man film. So this also shouldn't be a controversial take, I don't think. Like, yeah, is Civil War kind of got a lot of the issues people talk about with the MCU, like the lighting being really gray, and like just doing a lot of stuff that could be seen as like plot holes, like, I guess. But again, there's a lot of sauce that this movie goes with, a lot of scenes that are very, very well executed, a lot of fights. The introductions of both Black Panther and Spider-Man are phenomenal in this movie, and I don't know how you can watch both of those and like those were like the best any cameo thing has ever been executed in the MCU, and I don't think they'll ever match the energy of those, because when it came to like Black Panther and Spider-Man in these movies, they weren't just there to be like, look guys, point and clap. Black Panther ends up being instrumental in this movie, being a major character. Spider-Man ends up like doing a lot and like doing a decent amount during the fight, right? And then having his character introduced. Like, yeah, it's the start of a lot of stuff. And like the actual experience of being there when this movie came out and still watching it years later, and it's still, to be honest, holding up a lot, is so good, right? The way they handle the Winter Soldier as a character, the way they tie in Iron Man as part of it, Scarlet Witch's whole arc, and with Vision and all how they tie all of it together, and it still manages to be Captain America centric. It's just, again, there's the whole point of like Tony and Steve is that they're sort of like the Naruto and Sasuke of the MCU, where they form different ideologies, and the entire world of the MCU is formed around how these two ideologies clash. And it's high key why I think the MCU has kind of fallen off, is because they lack a sort of underlying, ongoing theming that Tony and Steve gave us that reached like its climax point with Civil War. Civil War, again, has so many moments in the movie that stick with me. Tony getting his ass beat and JJK jumping against the Winter Soldier and Captain America is one of the coolest scenes. And that's still in a movie where they have, like, the big dumb team-up battle, right? You just have to be averse to, like, comic book schlock if you don't like that sequence, I think. Does it have problems? Yes. Do those problems matter to me when I'm watching it? Hell no, man. Hell no. I love this movie. Okay. Chat. Guys, listen to me for a second. Where's the GIF? Where is it at? I can't. This is a Reddit link. I'm not. Whatever. I'll just do it. I did not care that much for Doctor Strange. I think, in terms of being a visual effects marvel, of having a unique OST, which it abandons, by the way, later on in the MCU. In terms of all that, this movie is literally just Iron Man, but if he was a wizard. It follows all the same beats as Iron Man 1, except if he was a wizard, without a lot of the sauce and, like, a somehow, like, lamer villain. Obadiah Stane has as a very good character until he turns into a gray suit. And then, like, this movie is, like, overall, like, aside from the marvel of its visual effects, it doesn't have a very big, saucy moment until Dormammu have come to bargain. And it has an OST that's, like, unique, but you could not tell me how that OST sounds in your head. Especially because they kind of use it in other movies, but, like, I just think, like, this movie is seen as quote-unquote unique only because of what it does for visuals. Otherwise, like, the movie's just Iron Man with wizards. And, like, yeah, I get it. It's an origin film. But it is just Iron Man, like, more so than other... Like, people always say that the origin films are just Iron Man, but it's like, that's not necessarily true. Ant-Man is, like... Ant-Man's more of, like, a down-on-his-luck sort of, like... heist film, but it's just like whatever. Hey Busham, are you happy Mid-Hero is finally over? I'm happy Horikoshi is done, like, butchering the final arc of a series that I really like. Anyways, but yeah, Doctor Strange is good. It's fine. And, like, yeah, it does a lot of good visual effects stuff. And I think he's a good character, but honestly, Doctor Strange is more likable in movies where he's not the main character. Oh, okay, so this shouldn't be a hot take either. Guardians Volume 2 is like, what if James Gunn decided to go apeshit? It's everything in Guardians, but with a way better villain. With way more beautiful visuals, beautiful lighting and color choices throughout the entire film. Again, the sequence where they're on the rocket is on the ship and he's whistling and it blasts through the entire ship in this beautiful collection of colors. The humor is really well executed. Oh my god, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, is one of the funniest lines in all of the MCU. The final fight is really good. Like, it does so many good things. And I was surprised to find out people don't like 2 over 1. And when I ask them, they don't give me a concrete answer. I think they just kind of go like, no, 1 is better than 2. And I don't know, man. Oh my god. James Gunn is like God's gift to superhero films because everything he touches in the genre turns into gold. The Pac-Man part is like, it manages to balance the humor in a way better way that keeps it emotionally grounded. Volume 2 has just way more that it does well. I think it maximizes what Volume 1, like what the first film did, in such a great way. I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Okay. Guys, let's talk about this, right? I'll put it here for now. Homecoming's good. Nope. You know what? Nope. There we go. Goes right here. Homecoming's good. I think people are very harsh on Homecoming because it's like he's Iron Man Jr., blah 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 blah, whatever. I think it's executed fine, considering the fact that they're doing this take on a character who's meant to be more childish than usual, and they do a lot of stuff with like making it more like a teen prom movie. Again, Michael Keaton as the Vulture is one of the better villains in the MCU. Top 10 easily. And the sequence where he finds out that he is the Vulture is just so good. I just think that the actual experience of watching everything, especially if you're a Spider-Man movie fan, it doesn't have as much sauce as like the Raimi films, or even, to be honest with you, the Spider-Man 2 specifically. Amazing Spider-Man 2 specifically. I think the theme is very good. I think it does a lot of things well. It's just missing something that the other two do have, and I think it's the MCU-isms, to be honest with you. Like, it's good, but especially after rewatching all of the Spider-Man stuff, it definitely, like, is here. You're not gonna like me when I talk about Far From Home. Okay, alright. I really liked Ragnarok. Taika was in his bag when he made Thor Ragnarok. The actual improv that is handled in Thor Ragnarok, the actual action sequences, the way they handle the Hulk and the relationships they have. I don't like what they did with Thor's mythos and kind of made it into a joke to like abandon it all, because it's kind of what holds together the theming for the first 2 Thor films, but apparently no one cared, so they didn't care. Right? So like, there's certain things that bother me about Thor Ragnarok as time goes on, and especially in relation to what he ends up becoming. But I think there's so many iconic scenes from Ragnarok, so many good visual choices that the movie makes in terms of like a lot of good sound choices too. I think Hela is a very good villain, even though she's actually not comic book Hela. But if you care about comic book accuracy at this point over a good character when it comes to the MCU, you're fooling yourself. You're barking up the wrong tree. You're forgetting who these movies are for. I think this movie just does a lot well. And Taika definitely got his Disney check after this movie and realized that he didn't have to make it go that hard ever again. But we'll talk about that. I think Thor Ragnarok is a very good movie. And it's loved for what it did. And it's just that I think Thor Ragnarok being as good as it is sets up a lot of what happens down the line because of how good it is. And I think that's kind of the problem. Hold on, did Inuyasha say that like... Inuyasha from the Very Really Good account says that Iron Man 1 should be an S. You should have been here when I talked about why. It's below everything I have it in. Okay, guys. After watching video essays about Black Panther and really ruminating on Black Panther, rewatching it, I don't think this should be controversial. Black Panther does so many things well. I feel like if you watch the final fight, outside of the bad visual effects that it did because of another ongoing problem the MCU starts of like rushed visual effects work, I think the actual story beats of the ending of Black Panther is very good. Killmonger, again, top 5 MCU villains by such a wide margin, it's disgusting if you think otherwise. Killmonger is handled so well throughout this movie, played very well by Michael B. Jordan. It has an amazing OST. Like, it's like, aside from, again, the Kendrick tracks that are obviously good, we're talking about Ludwig Göransson, one of the best, like, one of my favorite composers in recent years. Every track on this hits different. The OST for Black Panther is widely renowned for a reason. Imagine if Black Panther's final fight was choreographed like a Kamen Rider fight. Imagine if Black Panther's final fight had more than 2 months before the film came out to finish. Imagine if Marvel's VFX workers weren't overworked. There's just so much that it does well. Can I tell you a story about a disagreement I have with I had with people in this movie? I was in an old friend group of mine. I remember talking very positively about Black Panther, and they were saying things like, "Oh, Black Panther doesn't handle like its own like commentaries on race very well." And I was like, "That's a strange take. Why do you believe that?" And they'd say things like, "Well, Black Panther neglects a lot of conflicts by saying that like it really I remember watching a video essay, and someone said that like Black Panther neglects the way Africans are treated around the world because it only focuses on the American side of it." And I'm like, one of the first instances of like bigotry shown in this movie is when Killmonger's in the British Museum talking to them first about it, right? So it's not American, but also like Ryan Coogler's from Oakland, so he would have more of a connection to put it there, considering he did direct Fruitvale Station. But also like the reason why T'Challa opens up the outreach in Oakland is because that's where Killmonger was from. It's less like that was the place that needed it the most, and more that that's where everything started, and that's where you're gonna like spread out from. Like, sure, there's like weird like white savior stuff in the movie, but like again, that's resolved later. Black Panther also. I remember another thing someone said. This is one of the most cringy lines I ever heard from someone when talking about Black Panther. One of the people I used to talk to said that Black Panther, Killmonger's a bad villain because he says really cringy lines. I was like, what does that mean? And he goes like, Killmonger says that throw me into the ocean just like my ancestors before me because they knew that freedom was better than death was better than bondage. And how can he say that they're his ancestors if they're dead? And I was like, maybe you should throw yourself overboard. Like, it's just like, I feel like a lot, like so much of the discourse surrounding Black Panther and people who discuss Black Panther who call it just the same as Iron Man, it's not. And like all this other stuff are just missing out on what the film's trying to do and say and just the sauce it does have. I think the biggest L was taking the tokusatsu ass suit from Civil War that's literally one of the greatest superhero suits of all time. Let me pull up this suit. I love this suit. Give me a good view of this thing. Look at that thing. That's one of the greatest suits ever put to film. And I don't like how it turns into a CG mess, but otherwise, like, there's a lot that the movie does very well. And every time I watch it, I like it a little more. Oh, we're already here? Oh, that's crazy. Let me put this over here. Let me put this in a better order. Because we're going to talk about this in sequence. Okay, okay, so, again, should not be controversial at all. I think if you think this is a controversial take, you're stupid. Infinity War is just that good. Infinity War, the Russos definitely were in their bag. As time goes on and people point out things that it does that are weird, that have weird consequences for the future, or what it retroactively does to characters by killing them off and stuff. Like, I think what it does for the Guardians is very, very weird. You can tell in Volume 3 that James Gunn and the cast were not happy with how the Guardians were handled in Infinity War. But there are really good scenes with them. I think there's very good scenes with the Guardians in Infinity War. I think Thor is at his best in Infinity War. The way they handle him is at his best in Infinity War. The action sequences are just some of the best in any Marvel film. The problems really range from the fact that the movie's really gray. And like, I think just the visuals of it and sort of some MCU-isms that come about that are a little worse in Endgame, but I'll talk about that later. Infinity War, though, again, Thanos is one of the greatest villains in all of the MCU for a reason. He's one of the best villains put in this entire franchise for a reason. They handle him very well. But, like, I think this film does a lot very, very well. So many iconic scenes for it. And the actual theater watching experience of it was just, oh my god. Like, when the snap happens, everyone in the theater, like, it was like a funeral. No one walked out of that theater, like, clapping, whatever. Everyone walked out like they had just watched their family member die. It was crazy. Because the movie has so many high points, so many great moments, and then to end it like that with the gut punch is crazy. Like, they're never gonna have something like that ever again. Like, that is just, like, it like, this was the MCU at its peak. I remember when I went to watch Infinity War with my friend in elementary, we kept talking about, like, idiots. I feel like, I don't know, Infinity War does a lot really, really well. And I think that, like, this is a fair place to put it. Okay. Okay, feel free to get mad at me. Where's Ant-Man? Do I, though? Just thinking about it right now. Let me just think about this for a second. That's fair. I'll put it there. Yeah. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp has a lot of flack towards it because it came out after Infinity War. But in terms of how fun the watching experience is, how it handles the relationship between Scott and his daughter, and of course his relationship with Hope Van Dyne, and a lot of how it's handled. I think Ghost is actually pretty decent considering, like, of a villain, considering what we're used to. She's like in the middle area. I think the actual fight sequences that it has are pretty good. Do I think, like, again, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is a weird film in terms of the discussion, because when people talk about it, it's another situation where they just insist it's bad, and then when you ask them why, it's a lot of things that are like, I don't get why that bothers you, especially considering everything else. It came after Infinity War because Thanos was afraid of what Ant-Man would do. I mean, did you see what happened in Endgame? Endgame wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Ant-Man, you know what I'm saying? I think Ant-Man and the Wasp gets a lot of undue hate because I still, to this day, have no idea why people don't like it so vehemently over things before and after it. I don't get it. If Ant-Man and the Wasp is, like, one of your least favorite MCU films, like, you're just, like, a baby. Considering, like, oh my god, what's about to come over here. Ant-Man and the Wasp does, like, it is just fun. That's why, like, I'm debating this. But, like, I don't know. Like, if someone can tell me why Ant-Man and the Wasp is bad, please let me know. Because to this day, I still don't get why. Like, I actually just don't get why people hate this movie so vehemently. Yeah. Okay. I've come around on Captain Marvel. I used to be one of those guys who insisted that Captain Marvel was one of the worst films in the MCU. One of the worst. It's awful. And it's like a 5. It's like a 5 or... Actually, I'd say it's like a 6. 5 or a 6. This movie's fine. That was like the bar before. The worst thing an MCU film could be before. I had never watched Incredible Hulk, by the way, before, like, for years. The worst thing... No, I had rewatched Incredible Hulk for years, so I always assumed that Incredible Hulk was better than, like, when I remember rewatching it. Captain Marvel was, like, the worst the MCU can do, and the worst the MCU could do was, like, a 5. Rewatching it, I'm a lot less harsh on it. I understand what the movie's going for. I think every single problem with it is not necessarily Brie Larson, but how Brie Larson's being directed. I think Brie Larson's direction is to make her be, like, big, badass, serious lady, and, like, it doesn't play well with how she acts in other movies, because this is a woman with tons of personality, and it's being restricted to, like, stupid comic book, look at me, I'm badass stares. I think she has much better direction in how she's handled in the Marvels, but we'll talk about that. Like, I feel like what the problem is that she's not presented as very charismatic in her own film because they're trying to direct her to be way more serious and, like, badass, whatever, forcing it where they really shouldn't, considering. I don't know. You know what's strange about Incredible Hulk for me? The movie covers a little homage to the classic Spider-Man comic. Dude, I don't know, man. I don't even know what they're going for with it. I feel worse about this movie the more time goes on. Like Captain Marvel's villain is whatever, because like the whole movie is solved by her realizing that she is not what anybody else says about her. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. I get that. But also, like, you can do more with that. Also, the way they, like, reveal Nick Fury's eye is the lamest shit I've ever seen. I don't like that. I don't like the way they reveal that. Because this movie does have a lot of good stuff about it. And I think the literal biggest problem is just her direction. Not her direction that she's being given. Because otherwise, it's, you know, whatever. But, like, what it sets up of how they want to set her up for the MCU forces her into this role that is kind of... I like her better in other things. So this is where you all call me basic. This is where you all make fun of me. I really, really like Endgame. Look, I know Endgame has all of its problems. I know it has a lot of schlocky, stupid scenes. I know it has a lot of weird logical inconsistencies. I don't really necessarily, as time goes on, agree with how they handled Thanos. But what Endgame is a victory lap. Endgame is a celebration. Endgame is the ending to a whole saga. When you go through all these movies and then you go to Endgame and watch how it kind of tours through everything the MCU has done and does it in such a very, like, impactful, emotional way. Like, it has a lot of things it could have done better. But I also think that, like, the feelings I have for Endgame, as someone who was watching, who was invested in the MCU since Iron Man 1, watching all of it come to fruition, seeing scenes like I Am Iron Man, Tony going back and hugging his dad, the part where Captain America chooses to go back in time, Cap getting the hammer, you know, just all this good stuff, like all the way they have like Ant-Man being utilized in the film, like the parts with Gamora, and like it's just like it is such a good finale for the entirety of the MCU. And for better or for worse, it highlights what the MCU would be going forward. Because instead of looking at Endgame and seeing what it did well, and seeing like the merits of Endgame being what it represents for the MCU, and instead just taking away the surface level stuff as we go forward, I think the MCU was like should have stopped after Endgame. But we are where we're at, and now, oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so Far From Home. Far From Home's overhated. I think, actually no, I do like it more than Homecoming. Slightly more. As I think it's a similar situation to Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2, where it's like, I think Far From Home has a lot of sauce. I think the way they handle Mysterio is very, very good. I like the fact that Mysterio's a VFX guy. The sequences with Mysterio are amazing. I think it's, again, another situation where, one, it's following two of the biggest films of all time. He's dealing with being Iron Man Jr. again. Whatever. The consequences of this film don't last that long. And also, if you're a Spider-Man film fan, this movie doesn't do it for you. But I think its positives are way greater than its negatives, and it's another situation where when people talk about why they don't like this film, I kind of question why it's this one over like a bunch of other things that are here. You know? I like Far From Home a lot. I like what it does. I like the suit it gives me. I like just general choices it makes. Is it the best? No. But I think that Far From Home does a lot that I like a lot. especially looking back on it with what we're about to get into. Okay. Phase 4. Remember how I said I used to think that the worst thing an MCU film could be is like a 5? I think Phase 4 has a lot of really high points. High points that I think kind of outdo a lot of the majority of the MCU. I also think Phase 4 is where literally everything goes wrong. WandaVision's really good. I'd put WandaVision here. Depending on how I feel at the time, I think WandaVision's like here. I adore the way WandaVision sort of ends. I feel a little worse about it, given what happens in a certain movie down here. But, like, WandaVision, like, the build-up for it, the actual watching experience, is very, very enjoyable. I think the moment with White Vision and Wanda's imaginary vision is very good, like with the ship of Theseus, how it handles that. I think watching her emotionally break down and how creative the show is with the sitcom sort of theming it does. I think WandaVision's problem is how is what happens in Doctor Strange, if that makes sense. This is where a lot of what the problems are with some of these is how it ends up being handled down the line. Like, what ends up happening is that the thing itself isn't the problem so much as like what the thing is and what it signifies going down and how the things that are introduced in that thing are handled later on. If that makes sense. For example, I really like Captain America and Winter Soldier. I like Captain America and the Winter Soldier about... Yeah, we'll go here. I like Captain America and the Winter Soldier about this much. When I realize that now he's just getting his own movie, I wish this was just a movie. Because it could have just been a movie. But how it handles, right? Like, hold on. Let me just make sure I'm getting this right. No, I don't want... Okay, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. My bad. Like, the way it handles, like, Isaiah Bradley, right? The way it handles like Sam's transition emotionally into becoming Captain America, right? The fact that the show then changes its title to Captain America and the Winter Soldier in the last episode when he finally puts on the suit. There's a lot that it does well. Do I think that the problem is that it's a Disney Plus show that keeps like opening up threads instead of resolving them? Yes. Oh my god, is that a problem with a lot of these things? But again, at this point in Phase 4 with the Disney Plus shows, I could still see the merits that it has and what it's trying to say, to the point where I'm like, yeah, no, it's got problems, but what it does well is very good. I think his suit looks pretty good. I think like what Sam Wilson's Captain America suit is pretty good, and then they just replace it for the new movie. Cause fuck you, right? Like, we give you a suit that's fire, and then we're just gonna get rid of it. Why not? Why not? You know, like, I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff within this. I think how they handle Bucky is also very good. Like, it just does a lot that does a lot very well. And I just wish it was a movie instead of a show. A lot of the Disney Plus series should have just been movies. Transparently, that's what they should have been, because, again, as we found out recently, none of the Disney Plus series had, like, showrunners. They were filmed as if they were movies, which isn't good for cohesion of a series. I feel more positively about material that's in some of these shows, but as time goes on, I'm sort of realizing what the problem is. Oh, it's Cat. Oh, it's Black Widow. Yeah. Okay. Um, Black Widow is a movie that should have came out like 3 years before it did. If Black Widow came out after Infinity War, maybe in the same space. I don't even know if that's true. Black Widow should have just been a movie that came out like during Phase 2. Because I think like people would be way less harsh on it if it came out during Phase 2. It just came out too late for a character we already knew was dead. It has a lot of fun scenes, but like, it's a nothing movie. It was a nothing experience watching it. I felt nothing watching it except a couple giggles every now and then. Like what's the point, right? You leave watching this movie like with what's the point? All of Marvel's current and like honestly a lot of current cinema's production issues are way more apparent in Black Widow than they are in other films, and like it just sucks that it is it starts the cynicism of the way the MCU is handled starts coming out when you see Black Widow. Is it the worst Marvel movie? No, they already did one of the worst, and they're about to get even worse later on. Taskmaster's also really bad in this movie. I don't even care how how you can justify them handling it. I don't like the way they handle Taskmaster. Okay. So do I like it that much? Yeah. I'd say that's fair for how I feel about it. I think Shang-Chi is a very, very fun movie. And my feelings on Shang-Chi are that you can forget for most of it that you're watching an MCU film sometimes. Shang-Chi just has some of the best fight scenes in any Marvel movie ever. And that's by design. It's the Kung Fu Guys movie. The scene with the bus is phenomenal. I think even the final fight is pretty good. I just think there's a lot that Shang-Chi does because of its influences of martial arts films like Jackie Chan films and like the sort of like mystical Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon influences that it does very, very well. Because it went out of its way to do its own thing, it is one of the best things in the MCU. Ironically, it's good for all of the things that are not related to the MCU, which is an ongoing trend with a lot of newer things in the MCU. Like, it is good in spite of it being an MCU film because of what it does outside of it. I think Awkwafina is just Awkwafina in her role. Like, I think that it does a lot with like the generational trauma of it. It is just a film that would relate more to certain people. And I like Shang-Chi a lot. I think Wenwu is one of the better villains in the MCU. He's in my top 5. I like Wenwu a lot, and I feel as though, like, I am scared for what they're going to do with him later on. I'm actively scared of how they're going to handle Shang-Chi in later phases, because they haven't done anything to allude to what happened in Shang-Chi yet, and aside from one more. We'll get to it. I think Shang-Chi is one of my favorite things in the MCU. Okay. Fuck off. Fuck off. The Eternals is... Okay. When you talk to anyone about why they like the Eternals, all you gotta do is ask them a question. Are you telling me that Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, who can see into multiple different dimensions, who sees all of it, like oversees all of Earth to make sure the dangers.
You're telling me he couldn't see that there was just a guy in the basement? You're telling me that Doctor Strange couldn't see that there was just a big dude in the center of the Earth? You just didn't realize he was there? You're telling me that Doctor Strange or even the previous Sorcerer Supreme couldn't see that there was just a bunch of dudes wandering around planet Earth, doing all that shit? You telling me that he didn't realize that was happening?
I guess he didn't. I guess he simply didn't realize that was happening. The Eternals is one of those movies that is cut by the fact that, like, it came out after one of the phases that was most tightly woven throughout, and now it has to, like justify its own existence. And in doing so, it just actively pisses you off. The movie really expected me to piss my pants and kick my feet when they showed me Harry Styles as whatever the hell Thanos' brother's name is, which just raises more questions of, like, at least in the universe it's created. I know some comic nerd is gonna bring up that, like, it happened in the comics when it's been established this isn't the comics. There's so many inconsistencies with the comics that happen in these movies that, like, yeah, why, like you can't use comics as justification for what happens in a continuity that is specifically, at least if you're Iman Vellani or anyone who actually has self-respect, not Earth 616. So, introducing these things the way they do, like, making you constantly question things, and honestly, a film where the best sequences are the ones where characters are talking because the MCU, this is emblematic of a problem with the MCU, where they will hire directors who don't direct stupid comic book slop. They direct grounded, like, character dramas with specific budgets in mind and specific storytelling things in mind. I would not this is like me going up to like, I don't know, yo, Tight Kubo, write Nisekoi. What? Why would I expect Tight Kubo to write Nisekoi? No. Would I expect who does what I expect Togashi. I go to Togashi. I'm like, yo, Togashi, write. No. What is the most opposite? Write a chapter of My Dress Up Darling. That's not the right guy for the job. So, like, when there's rumors of, like, the director for the Eternals, like, her, okay, let me like, okay. The director of Eternals, Chloe Zhao, her discography is like, yo, look at this discography, right? Do any of these films scream, like, comic book slop to you? When you watch Nomadland, do you think, ah, yes, my favorite comic book slop? So all the best shot sequences in the Eternals are things where, like, she's in her bag. The things she's already used to directing. They're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and it doesn't work out. This movie is also, like, the cast is very, very, like, just overall disinteresting. I find it weird that, like, one of the only gay black characters in the MCU is responsible for the Holocaust. Just a little weird to me. Little weird to me that happened. It's just like when I watch that movie, when you watch the Eternals, no one in the theater has any emotion. I walked out of that theater and like the movie, like nobody cared except for the one guy next to me who was pissing his pants when they introduced Black Knight. Why would I care about Black Knight given what was unless I'm really that much invested in like what's going on. At this point, I'm so pissed off that like I don't even give a shit anymore, man. This movie's dog water, and it's dog water because of everything that like everything that's gone on, but like that like leads up to this, and what this movie signifies going forward. It's a very pretty movie, and that's because Chloe Zhao is a very good director for picturesque shots. Name one character from this movie right now, chat. Go ahead. Name one character from this movie. I can name Icarus, but like his name's like Icarus but spelled wrong. I think if you watch the MCU and you think Eternals is good in comparison to anything else in here, I just look at you funny. Because I just cannot comprehend why you would think that. Aside from like I kind of fuck with the vibes, in which case like okay, man, whatever you say. I don't know. It was exhausting. It was exhausting and like I dog shit. Okay, so yeah, I think that's fair. I like Hawkeye. I think the Hawkeye show is very good. Again, because it grounds itself, it focuses more on character interaction. It realistically should have been a movie, but I think what it does for the character of famous actor Jeremy Renner, you should get his app. He has an app, I heard, and you know, and the new and like Kate Bishop. I think their interactions are great. The movie, like the series, is like way more focused on doing what would be in Hawkeye's bag. Being a grounded street level character, dealing with the consequences of what he did in Endgame. On top of, like, it's way more character focused. It does a lot more fun things. Do I wish it was a movie instead? Yes. But also, like, what it gave me was very, very fun. I don't really have many crazy ass things to say. I think, like, Hawkeye does a lot of really good things. And it was the experience of watching it week to week was way more positive than most things, because I wasn't constantly having to question everything that was going on because of how grounded it was. That's pretty much all I have to say in regards to Hawkeye. Okay, so okay, this is my favorite MCU film. Of course it is. It's a movie that jerks off Spider-Man, Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and gives Andrew Garfield Spider-Man like a satisfying conclusion. Of course, No Way Home is my favorite MCU film because I be bouncing on Spider-Man shit 24/7, right? It is what is funny about No Way Home is that it's good because it's a Spider-Man movie. No Way Home is good because of how it celebrates Spider-Man in film. No Way Home is good because it has a lot of really cool creative visual sequences, and it has moments that build off of existing emotion you have and completed character arcs you have for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Too bad they dicked over Tom Holland's Spider-Man so bad. I wouldn't even say that's true, because the character arc that Tom Holland's Spider-Man has at the end of this movie, throughout this movie, is really good. He's challenged on his ideals and forces him into the peg of, like, brings him back to what the character should be instead of being Iron Man Jr. and instead makes him Spider-Man. Do I think there's flaws with the movie? Yes. Do I not care necessarily about the flaws because of how good the positives are? Yes. It's another movie. It is like, okay, I feel like in terms of event films of what the MCU's pinnacle of, No Way Home is like the last vestige of it. It's the last time we're ever going to get like a moment like with Endgame or Infinity War that's genuine and like not cynical. When I watch cameos in No Way Home, they're not cynical at all. In fact, they're there to bolster your emotions towards something, right? Your emotions towards these things, right? I like the cameos in No Way Home because they're not cynical. They're there to bolster the characters of Spider-Man and like how the story's ending is the way it is. It is another situation where I am afraid of what they're gonna do with Tom Holland's Spider-Man later on, because of what they did with No Way Home. I do not trust the MCU to continue this character for the same reason I don't trust what they did after Endgame for a lot of those characters. This was the conclusion as far as I care of that character, of this iteration of Spider-Man, and anything afterwards is going to be a nightmare considering what the MCU is shown to be able to do. Speaking of which, this sucks. No, yeah, nope, yep, moop, yep, nope. No, Moon Knight pisses me off more. Okay. Moon Knight is a very good first episode and fifth episode. Moon Knight is a great thriller psychological series for for 2 episodes, and the first and the fifth. And then it's just Marvel schlock of someone doing like their best like Indiana Jones, but like as heard through a game of telephone impression. Watching this week by week was miserable. Because like every episode was like nothing, and then they give you one of the most immaculate episodes known to man of what the show should have been the whole time, and then they go to a kaiju battle that skips the final battle because the director says that people are bored by action scenes. Like, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? Why would you do that? I fail to understand the giving us a perfect example of what this show should have been, other than the fact that this should have been a movie, because if it was a movie, it would have packaged everything way more concisely. Chat, gun to your head right now, what happened in episode 4? Gun to your head, what happened in Moon Knight episode 4? I'm struggling right now. I couldn't tell you what happened in Moon Knight episode 4. Okay, you know what also it does? It actively messes with the mythos that Thor Love and Thunder ultimately just destroyed. Thor had introduced the idea that gods in this world were just dudes, like alien races. I could accept that. That's a change you made. Doctor Strange introduced the idea that they are both that and also mystical beings. Sure.
the way Moon Knight's gods operate is so backwards to what you already seen. It directly contradicts everything we've seen before, and not in a way that like updates the lore. It actively contradicts everything we've seen. To where when Kevin Feige swears on his stupid baseball hat collection that it was planned all along, he's lying. He's lying through the millions of dollars he's like fingering by his desk, dog. They're not mystical aliens because they live in a different mystical plane. They operate entirely differently from the way that like Thor, like the Asgardians work. The only frame of reference we have for gods. It's just like it doesn't work the way they've done it. You can't present to me that it's one way for so much of this and then just be like, nah, it's actually this. It brings back like what the biggest problem is in the Eternals. If Thanos' plan was to end half of life in all the universe, and the Eternals like boss incorporate wanted them to use to build Earth's population so that we could have he could give the guy in the basement a yummy meal, why would he just let that happen? If this was planned, that would have made sense. It's not planned. They're making this shit up as they go, especially with the way they handle the gods in this. I don't like it. Moon Knight, dog water, ass, poo-poo garbage, not good. Professor Wacky and the Multi-Dimensions of Weirdness is a movie that gets worse the moment you turn your brain on. It is a movie that is only good because of Sam Raimi's directing and because of Elizabeth Olsen's acting. It has some of the most cynical cameos I've ever seen. The idea of the multiverse is just like a dimension where it's kind of icky and dead, and a universe where green means stop. All the logical consistencies of like Reed Richards being the smartest man in the universe and telling Wanda, this guy right here has the power of speaking through his mouth. He will make you go boom. What mouth? Smartest man in the universe, my ass. Also, like, if I cover my mouth, it could come out your nose. Like, it wouldn't matter if it happened. Why would the sound not just come out of his nose? Right? Like, it just comes out of your nose. So whatever. It's dumb. It started everything wrong with the way the multiverse is, to be honest with you. And you should have just let Sam Raimi write it. It also furthermore emphasizes why I don't find Doctor Strange as compelling in a movie where he's the main character as opposed to when he's a side character. Is because he's like fine in this movie, but I'm focusing way more on Wanda. I don't like the fact that America Chavez is just a glorified plot device. She doesn't have a character arc, and in comparison to like in the comics where her backstory is like, my parents created multidimensional travel, and the accident that caused me to give me my powers is born from when they were experimenting, and instead it's just like, I got scared by a bee and then my parents went bye-bye. It's so dumb. It's so dumb, man. These movies used to have sauce, man. And like, I feel as though the cameos in this movie are the most cynical a cameo could be. And I don't like it. What it also introduces is like, I don't buy Wanda being the villain, especially when the ending of WandaVision literally labels her as like a misunderstood
like someone who made mistakes but ultimately should be loved at the end, right? Someone pointed out that the easiest fix to making the transition better is that the ending of WandaVision be less positive, and then Wanda gets chased out like a witch. There's so much that happens in this movie that's like, they really disrespected Charles Xavier. Dude, they disrespected everybody who was in this movie, man. The only one who didn't get disrespected is Wanda, and it's because they gave Wanda every single good scene. I think that if you watch this movie and you hate the direction and the way it looks, you're a loser. Because the way it's directed and the way it looks is how MCU films should be. Because Sam Raimi is the god. He's an Omega level. Okay, but Wanda's like an Omega level too in terms of comics as well. Like, you can't really pull that. He's an Omega level Kasoshi. Anyway, like, multiverse is just multi dimensions of wackiness is just, I think, another example on the film side of what is wrong with the MCU. Because we have a director that is the only reason a director and an actress who are the only reason you can realistically enjoy this film, with a score that's good but directly rejects the established themes that we've been given Doctor Strange up until this point. Me no likey the movie that should have came out before Homecoming, before No Way Home. One of the few pluses it has. Okay, but that's also like, I think that's cynical too, because it's like, wow, it's the theme it's the thing you like. Point and clap. You like X-Men? X-Men animated theme? Clap. Look, Black Bolt? Clap. I don't know. Pisses me off. Okay, guys. Don't get mad at me. Yeah, I think that's about here. In fact, actually, we'll do this. Miss Marvel is a very good show. Iman Vellani is great in every single scene she's in. She plays the character very well. The first episode's direction is so great. I think the way it ties into lineage and sort of generational trauma and sort of like how it ties into who she is as Miss Marvel is very good. And okay, let me show you this suit, right? This is going to tie into why another thing sort of pisses me off. Give me the suit. That's okay, there we go. We'll do this one. The way it's explained this suit is designed is that it's not just like a typical sort of MCU suit. The fabric that she uses that forms it is stuff that comes from Pakistan. Is material that comes from Pakistan that she gets that ties directly to her heritage, right? So it's not just a stupid suit. It is a suit that symbolizes that she is Pakistani and that she's proud of her culture, right? That's what like is really cool, I think, about this suit. And like, even though later they retcon her into being a mutant, dude, who cares? I think retconning her into mutant is such like you only care about that if you're into comics. If you're a person who watches these movies, you don't necessarily care, right? Like, they didn't even treat the Inhumans well. Why would I care if they like made her into a mutant? Unless I care about comics, in which case it's like, who really cares? Do I think it's weird that they gave her big magical powers? In terms of synergy, yes. I think it makes sense in terms of like how badass it would have been if she was just Mr. Fantastic. I think it's an L. There's ways you could do it. I don't think I think they wanted synergy over whatever, but I like the way Iman Vellani plays this character, and I like what they do in this show. Honestly, she's one of the greatest introductions into the MCU aside from Kate Bishop and how they handle that character. We'll talk more about that and squandered potential. Oh! That's funny. That's funny. Get dog water out of my face. I hate this movie. Love and Thunder is one of the worst things ever created. Love and Thunder is a movie where 1 second I'm watching Jane Foster die horribly of cancer, suffering and lamenting the failures of her life and how everything fell apart for her, and then it hard cuts to a screaming goat and a fart noise. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? This is the most cynical, the most like dog water example of, like, if you distilled everything that was wrong with the MCU, you get Thor Love and Thunder. It contradicts the existing lore because apparently the Asgardians are just actually part of the mystical cult of of gods, because gods are not aliens. They're in fact just actual things in this world now, which wouldn't make sense already, but fuck you, I guess. It's so backwards. It's so backwards and dumb. I like the actual action scenes are mediocre. It's a kids film. Even Chris Hemsworth himself has said that the movie was toned down and dumb. And Taika Waititi guaranteed was not on that set. There's an interview. Where is it?
Hey everyone, I'm Jesse.
And I'm Tessa Thompson.
And we're here to...
It's because it used to be when he would wake up. That was my real.
Watch this part. I think this spells out everything.
There has a darkness like no other.
Watch this.
Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's a little grayish.
The atmosphere there has a darkness like no other. It's as if color fears to tread. It's unmistakable.
Okay, this is one little funny thing that happens in this. See this shot? Like it's because it used to be when he would wake up. That was my reaction. But you just left it there randomly. But I kind of don't mind it. Yeah, look.
It's unmistakable.
You said that.
I never noticed it. I was never looking at you.
Trust me, I did.
So here's a fun little thing. Again, the group I used to be in were these kind of people who rode really hard for, like, the corporation always knows best, and everyone, and you can't say that, like, directors are lazy, because they would never do that. I was on a job, right, where, like, they covered, there was all this, like, logos that they couldn't have on the walls. They didn't have the rights to it, but they just filmed in there anyway. It was a moving sequence with moving parts. And then the director comes in, looks at that and goes, "Where was my art department on that? Bitch, where were you?" Taika had a check, and he did not care. He got his Disney check, and I don't blame him. I do not blame Taika for, like, getting his check and leaving. Cause I guarantee you, he saw what happened, the way the Disney machine worked, and was just like, dude, why even try? Why even try? You know? Who cares? It's stupid comic movies. I got my bag. I'm out. Which sucks, because the Jane Foster stuff in Thor Love and Thunder is phenomenal. The Mighty Thor is a wasted character that they had, that they could have done stuff with, and they just kill her. They just kill her. They kill her in between scenes of farting and weird comedy that's not funny. This movie's not funny. It wastes a great villain with Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. He's really good in this movie. And it's wasted on this, man. It's just so dumb. I hate this movie. I hate this movie so much, man. The more I think about it, the more problems I have with it. And it's more frustrating because it has genuine good that it squanders. It teases like Hercules, but, like, why would I care at this point? Why would I care at this point with the MCU if you show off Hercules? Who gives a shit? Why does Taika look like a certain 1930s European politician? Let's not worry about that. Jojo Rabbit or whatever the hell. Now, She-Hulk is a show that's fine for most of it. She-Hulk doesn't do anything particularly well or anything particularly bad for most of it. It's milquetoast. I think the way she talks about like the difference between why she's able to handle her anger over Hulk's is really cringe, because she's like, you've never been known to suffer, and I'm like, dude, he was hunted by the government for every single day for existing. I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever. The show's decently funny. The last episode makes me irrationally angry. Because the last episode of She-Hulk is the most cynical thing I've ever seen. Hold on. Why am I on cords? So for context of what was happening during the time, this was when like the Marvel VFX, where it came out with the whole thing that like Marvel VFX, like the VFX artists were being overworked. That's why like scenes like Black Panther were like the Black Panther final fight were handled very awkwardly. Is because Marvel's VFX team is actively overworked. People go to the hospital over it. People are getting underpaid. They're treated like garbage when you work VFX in for Marvel. A lot of VFX houses loathe when Marvel gives them work, because Marvel demands them to be wizards who could just fix everything, because that's the way that they do it. She-Hulk's final episode ends with like her breaking the fourth wall and like just a way that's not very charming. Like everyone points out like that's what she does in the comics. I'm like, but does that like just because she does that doesn't mean like the finale of it is good. Like Deadpool, all three Deadpool movies, right? Like he breaks the fourth wall, but the final act is always like handled within the universe of what it is we're watching. It's not like Deadpool went to the cutting room bay and called everybody gay pussies and then cut out the movie himself. Like, that's not what ever happens. The finale of every single Deadpool movie is within the universe of the film. He just makes, because like your final moment, your final climax should not rely on fourth wall breaking, because fourth wall breaking should be reserved entirely for lighthearted fun things. Not like the main conflict. So it's a wet fart of an ending. But also, there's this line where she talks to Kevin Feige as a robot. Haha, Kevin Feige is a robot. Do you get it? And then they say like, we need you to go out of your She-Hulk form. The VFX budget, you're too expensive to do VFX for. And that was the moment I was like, okay, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, right? Like, VFX artists are overworked because of you, and you're gonna do a funny little poking joke at that, and I'm like, that's gross, that's weird, I don't like that, get it out of here, I don't, ew. So like, I don't hate She-Hulk for anything that the weirdos like Critical Drinker hate it. I hate She-Hulk because of how cynical it is with it. Like, I remember Jonathan said like, She-Hulk is Deadpool for women, but you won't admit that. No, She-Hulk is like if someone if Kevin Feige was reading a lot of like fucking Reddit posts and Twitter, and then was so mad at them that he made an entire show to shit on them. And it's not charming. It's not doing it in a self-away thing where like she's the butt of the joke. You know, Deadpool works because Deadpool is the butt of the joke. They're making fun of him for most of it, as well as making fun of other people. And She-Hulk, like, especially with that line at the end, really just pissed me off. Like, again, if you're one of those people like the Critical Drinker who go, women bad, like, you're a loser. But that's not why I don't like She-Hulk. I hate She-Hulk because it is what it represents for the MCU as a whole. Because, like, Daredevil's so cool in the show. I think the way they add Daredevil is badass. He's so good in this show. Especially, like, and the way they handle it, very fun. there's just so much like weird like weird discourse comments on it that you know the writers were just perusing Twitter one day, and it's like that's not fun. That's cringe and weird. I don't like that. Like the Megan Thee Stallion scene, I thought the Megan Thee Stallion scene was pretty funny. I think the jokes with Daredevil pretty funny. I don't like them making fun of make poking jokes about VFX artists when they're the ones who like did that. I think them doing a bad finale and then making a joke about how their finales are bad doesn't excuse the fact that it was a bad finale. You know what I mean? I wish She-Hulk did law proceedings. Exactly. She-Hulk should have been a legal show. Because that's what She-Hulk's character is. People say that She-Hulk is just female Deadpool. I'm like, no, She-Hulk is more than just female Deadpool. We have female Deadpool. Her name is Gwenpool. But every single do you want the show to just be female Deadpool, or do you want it to be better? Because I expect Deadpool to be Deadpool. I don't expect She-Hulk to be Kevin Feige getting really mad at people on Twitter for however many episodes it was. Ugh. I have not seen Werewolf by Night. I've heard nothing but positive things about it. I'm probably going to watch it one of these days. I just haven't got a chance to do it. I think it's literally, aside from like 2 things on here, one of the only things I haven't seen. I'll preemptively do this. I think that the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special is very fun. I think it was very entertaining. I think it's another example of fourth wall breaking that actually works and isn't cynical and is more fun than anything else. Again, if you're gonna do fourth wall breaks, it only makes sense if it's lighthearted and not integral to the main plot of the story, right? Will they shove She-Hulk in Fantastic Four? Dude, no they won't. It's just gonna be a fine movie, whatever. I love Wakanda Forever. Wakanda Forever is good because it is just a sequel to Black Panther. It cuts out the white savior bullshit. It creates one of the best villains in the whole MCU with Namor. I love the way they handle him in Talokan. I like the introducing the whole world of it. I love what they do with Shuri's character, right? And dude, the scene, it has one of the greatest cameos of all time, because the cameo isn't just a cynical cameo. It is a moment that is integral to her character. When she goes into the ancestral plane, and instead of seeing T'Challa and instead of seeing her mom, Shuri sees Killmonger, because Killmonger's the only person who, like her, was scorned by the world. And she's like, you know at the bottom of your heart that I in some way was right. So which way is it going to be? And that shows where her character is going for it. Do I think the finale fight on the boat is a little mid? Yeah. I think her fight as Black Panther against Namor is really, really good, because it's more small scale and more emotional and visceral. There's so much that this movie does well, and I think what makes it even more surprising that it's good is the fact that it goes to show how good of a director Ryan Coogler is, and how much they all cared about this project. That again, he died, man. The actor for Black Panther died. Chadwick Boseman was dead. That single-handedly destroyed all plans going forward for what this movie and everything that utilized Wakanda and Black Panther as a character could do. And they still, with just pure respect for Chadwick Boseman as an actor and the character of Black Panther, with pure respect to it, managed to create a movie that is just a great send-off for it. I think Wakanda Forever is really slept on. Especially like when I hear complaints about it too, it's like, oh my god, I hate Ironheart. I think I love how they implemented Ironheart into the show. I mean, into the movie. I'm worried about her show that she may or may not get. Who cares? At this point, it's a Disney Plus show. Who cares? I don't have Disney Plus anymore. I just think like everything of the way they handled Wakanda Forever, especially given the circumstances they were given, they had like the worst hand dealt to them possible, and they still created a movie that was that good, with that much love, and I think it's insane. The performances all around were great. Some of the best scenes in the MCU are in Wakanda Forever. I love this movie, man. Oh, dog shit's next. Oh. You talk to ants! Hold on. Let me get you talk to ants real quick. Let me get you talk to ants. Do the thing. Say the thing.
Worlds. Killed. And you think... beat me. I am king!
I am king!
You. You talk to ants.
You talk to ants! Oh, it's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, it's so bad, actually. It's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. You know what? No, yeah, no, that, yeah, no, yeah, no, not, yeah. Oh, Quantumania, you funny little bastard. Oh, you sea of dog shit, you funny little piece of shit. Oh, Ant-Man Quantumania. Oh, you're so bad. You're so bad. It is so cosmically funny that they spent all this. Okay, so I think Quantumania speaks to everything that is wrong, again, I say this a lot, with the MCU nowadays. Because you can't just introduce, like, this is me. This is like if I wrote a manga, if I was writing Bleach, and I introduced Aizen, and then Aizen gets taken out by Ikaku, dog, in chapter 25. Like, why would I let that happen? Why would I show off the guy who's said to have killed every Avengers team up in every other timeline? The Avengers ain't shit to him. Thor, who withstood the power of the sun, who's as strong as the Hulk. Captain America, who was boxing with Thanos. They were nothing compared to Kang the Conqueror.
Talk to ants.
I guess they didn't have ants. Maybe the problem that the Avengers had in every other timeline was that they simply didn't have ants. Because again,
You
talk to ants. Like what are we doing, man? What are we doing here? Like the movie looks like shit. It has like the worst VFX, some of the worst VFX shown throughout any movie. It abandons most of the cast that like makes up the story, like Quantumania does, like the previous two Ant-Man things, especially because the whole point of it is that it's like that they're part of his family, whatever, right? And then they just get rid of them. It's a bunch of stupid sci-fi noise. It's just, it is more than just a nothing watching experience. It's nothing, and it actively pisses me off watching. And just like, look, man, ant phobias are a real problem. You didn't get the necessary therapy. You're right. You know what? Maybe when he was saying this line, right, he was like,
You talk to ants.
Maybe he was like genuinely viscerally afraid. I don't know, man. Those ants be pretty. Hold on. Maybe you know, you guys are right, because you know what, man?
Super pooper scoopers are just legendary.
You see, Freezy Pop, I'm stronger than an ant. If an ant was this big, you're just fucking with me. You know what? You raise a valid point. You raise a valid point because here we have Goku.
This big.
Goku is stronger than an ant if an ant was this big, right? Look, yeah, you know what? Frieza couldn't hope to fight an ant. Like, fight someone that's stronger than an ant if an ant was that big, right? Kang was fighting ants the size of people.
You talk to ants.
Right? Like, you talk to ants, dog, and, you know...
Sand. Super pooper scoopers are just legendary. You'll see.
Freezy Pop, that's stronger than an ant. If an ant was this big... like, okay, yeah, you know what? You got a point. You got me there. You got me there. I simply didn't consider. That's a pretty big ant, you know? Dude, listen. Freezy Pop, the conqueror of the universe, couldn't hope to fight an ant if an ant was this big. And if they're the size of people, imagine how strong... You're right. Didn't think about it that way. My bad. Oops. This movie sucks, dude. This movie's so bad. Like, it's like, you know when people... Like, it's like pure distilled when people say that Marvel films and superhero films are like substanceless garbage with just a bunch of visual noise. I would show them Quantumania and I would just prove them right. Again, Ant-Man winning at the end of Quantumania, beating the main villain, right, of the saga, deflated all of the tension we had for the character. It should have ended with Ant-Man and Wasp trapping themselves in the quantum realm with Kang, because then there would have been stakes. But they just beat him off to the dimension with you because very simply, like, you never considered that.
You talk to ants.
You talk to ants. Like, come on. Come on. You know, no, yeah, no, you're down there, actually. Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay. Oh, Peak Fiction. Oh, Peak Fiction. That's so crazy. That's so crazy how that happened. That's so crazy how that happened. It's so crazy how James Gunn comes in, makes a movie that is good, not because it is an MCU film, but because it is the finale for the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, right? Like, Guardians Volume 3 is definitively the best in the trilogy, with some of the best moments in the whole series. The character arc that Rocket has, how it resolves the way they got fucked at the end of Endgame still, by handling like Gamora, how Star-Lord manages to come to terms with the fact that he might have to find out who he is first. The fact that the ending is as phenomenal as it is. It's just so good. Peak MCU, I think it's just peak like superhero film because of what James Gunn did for it. It has some of the best direction I've seen from an MCU film. One of the best villains I've seen in an MCU film of superhero. Like, James Gunn is God's gift to superhero films. Everything he touches turns to gold when it comes to superhero films. Like, this movie is so good. It has one of the best endings of any superhero film ever. Some of the most creative, beautiful, vibrant sequences in any of these MCU films. It is just that good. Guardians 3 is just that good. It is the best trilogy in the MCU by such a wide, massive margin. And I think that shouldn't be a hot take at all. It should just be a fact. The fact that Rocket just saying my name is Rocket Raccoon is one of the hardest things in any of these films is a testament to that, man. Like, oh my god, it's so good. Mantis's character arc, the way they finish off, like the way they end up leaving each other to go on their own journeys, it's so it's so good. I cannot wait for what he does for the DC cinematic universe. I cannot wait for what he does. No, fucking. Oh, I was in a call with people when I watched Secret Invasion. Does it piss me off more than... Yeah, it does. Secret Invasion... Man, you know, we all make mistakes sometimes. We all do a little fucky wucky every now and then. Sometimes you make a season of fucky wuckies, fueled by AI and character assassination. Sometimes literally, you know, like people like what was the thing? Where's the clip, right? Where is the part where like Mr. Sunday movies, right? Where he says like where's the clip he says, right?
Like people have joined hands. And he said, but I kept, you know, and it's kind of man, and it's a man. Yeah, heavily political stuff. They're revealed or not revealed, but then also, if he's the only guy, if all back. Second thing is as well. Yeah. In a show like this, in a boil for several out how they scroll. What I say? Set a skull. TV. You know, there's a Terrence Howard thing, which half the time. Yeah. I get scrolls, and they're like, oh, you can extend him on.
I can't find the clip. Someone can find the clip. Send it to me in my server. There's a part where the Mr. Sunday movie says like this line where it's like, yeah, people have been wanting a grounded thriller like Winter Soldier, and this is what you wanted, right? No, I wanted it to be good. And like the characters are boring. They make Nick Fury speak in this like way he wouldn't speak, giving him a family that's just, man, I don't know about all that. Making a character who breaks the power system of the entire MCU at this point, awful, genuinely awful for this point in the series. Killing off Maria Hill in like the most unceremonious way possible. Like I thought it was gonna be a twist that she was alive. No, they just killed her. They just killed her with no fanfare. A character who's been integral to the series since the beginning. Okay, she's dead now. Just dead now. You know. It actively, like, the literal only reason you would ever watch this is to understand what was going on with the Skrulls and the Marvels. But, like, you could just not watch it and watch the Marvels instead. And pretend it doesn't exist, you know? Because once you watch the Marvels, the stuff that happens in Secret Invasion comes off as that much more unimportant. That much more like what is the word I'm looking for? That much more like inconsequential. It's nothing. What it adds to it doesn't add anything to the universe except for a character that is like that breaks the power, the scaling of the universe, and then on top of that, what it does doesn't even mildly affect the material that's in the Marvels. So like. On every single level, why does this exist? On top of it, utilizing AI. It's just so bad. I remember watching this, and the dialogue's also really bad. I remember showing this to someone. Like we were watching this in call, and I wanted to just bash my head against the table when I was watching it. It's so bad. I don't see any merit from this series. The fact that barely anyone has seen it, and it's kind of the reason why a lot of people jumped off the Marvel ship, should tell you everything of everything about Secret Invasion. I think Secret Invasion was the final nail in the coffin for me, that it was over. That I should stop caring about the MCU definitively. Just stop caring at all about it. Like, it's... The feelings started when the Eternals came out, and then, like, I was coping for so long until finally Secret Invasion I watched it, and I was like, no, we're done. I don't care anymore. I just do not care about the future of the MCU because you've given me straight up some of the worst things in this entire franchise ever. Just in a row. Kind of insane. The lowest an MCU thing used to be was Captain Marvel, which was mid, a 5. And now it's like I've seen lower lows so many times over. Of things that have no worth for the overall universe and just super cynical, awful, just dumb bullshit here in the bottom. Which makes what I'm about to say even funnier because Loki is kind of peak. I don't prefer season 1 that much. I think season 1 is kind of like a thing where they're trying to find its way through stuff. But season 2 is one of the greatest things in the MCU. Which is why it's averaged out to the top of A. I would put, to be honest with you, Loki season 2 somewhere above volume 2 in Wakanda Forever. And season 1 like around below Guardians. Loki is such an interesting show because like you would like the season 1 they're spending so much time creating fan fiction version of Loki who existed during the continuity of Avengers. They got rid of all of his character development. So ordinarily like they're spending so much like they're doing so much legwork to try to get you to like to build their new version of Loki. But if you just like ignore all the time it spends doing that during season 1 and just consider this Loki to be the one in Endgame, in Infinity War, the one who dies in Infinity War. If you consider this, if you watch season 2 and consider this Loki like in your own mind to just be the one that died at the end, that died at the end of the beginning of Infinity War, because they basically just spent season 1 showing him his character development throughout the MCU. So it might as well be. But like the fact that you add on all this character work they've done for one of the greatest characters in the entire MCU in season 2 and then give him one of the best character, like the best finales for a character seen throughout this entire franchise. Loki season 2 does a lot really well. A lot of really good visual stuff. That's the best like visual effects wise that this franchise will ever look, to be honest with you. And just a finale that's just phenomenal. Loki season 2 does everything that the future of the MCU should do. Loki season 1 is kind of like what ended up happening as a result of Kevin Feige's attempts to like push this franchise in a new direction. If that makes sense of how I feel about it. Because I didn't like the way season 1 handled Loki's character of creating a fan fiction version who watched his own character progression play out secondhand. But if you ignore that factor in season 2, it ends up being one of the greatest like threads throughout the entire thing. I love the way they handle the time loop thing, and I might talk about it in the future. I may talk about specifically Loki season 2 in a future video. Who knows? Okay. So, The Marvels is, I think, a fine film. It has very, very, very creative fight sequences. I think the fight sequences in The Marvels is very, very good. It has some really great creative ideas, like the planet where they where they do the music, where everybody talks in like Disney musicals. I think that was really funny, well executed joke. Iman Vellani is just the best part of that movie by such a wide margin. Every scene she's in is phenomenal. Do you guys remember when I talked about her suit and how it ties to her heritage and like
how every like the material that's made out of is made of like Pakistani material that ties into who she is as a person, and how like that whole thing ties into not just like her passion, her love for being a superhero, but also the fact that she is Pakistani and will be different from others, right? And it's just handled so well at the end of Ms. Marvel. And then they replace it with one of the ugliest suits I've ever seen. The most MCU shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, well, the colors are brighter, but like it's just ugly. I hate the way this looks. What are we doing here? What's going on? Why are we doing it? Like, you know what's great about it is that right next to her is Captain Marvel with a better version of her own suit. Like, this one right here is really good. I like this one. And then just two of the ugliest suits in the MCU right next to her. Like, what are we doing here? What is going on? What is going on here, man? You know what's funny is this movie also confirmed the suspicion I had that the problem I had with Captain Marvel and Brie Larson was the way she was being directed. Because in this one, I really like her. And I realize it's just because they allow Brie Larson to act like Brie Larson and have more personality and charm. And I'm like, yeah, I like this character. I like this. I like Captain Marvel. I like the synergy she has with Monica Rambeau and, and Miss Marvel. I even like the villain to a certain extent. I like that the whole film is about her realizing that her own arrogance pushed this planet to the brink. I feel like this movie should have been like 30 minutes longer than it was, because it just sort of ended, and then it showed me Beast X-Men.
You guys, do you like Beast X-Men? You guys like the X-Men? You guys remember Beast from the X-Men?
Like, oh my god, dude. I don't care. I don't care. This is a movie about the Marvels. I don't care if you show me Beast X-Men. Okay, so you know what drives me insane about this suit is that the original suit was made with her being Pakistani in mind. This is just an alien suit. They got it from an alien planet. This is just the suit she gets at the J.C. Penney over in the Disney planet. Like, what are we doing, man? Dog shit on aisle 3. Like, what is going on here? What are we doing, man? I don't know. Hold on, let me scroll back up. Why did they make Rhodey a damn Skrull? I think what they do act like the whole Skrull stuff is just really bad. Like, they make these weird decisions that actively fuck with the lore of the whole franchise. And it does not matter how much cope you have to show me, like, single lines that justify it might be true. It doesn't work. It does not work for me when you show me that shit, right? It doesn't, like, it actively messes with the whole world. Do I like Owen Wilson? I love Owen Wilson and Loki. Owen Wilson's character of Mobius is so good. Again, another reason why Loki is one of the best things in the MCU. Side note, have you seen X-Men 97? No. I am still weighing my options because, to be honest with you, I don't have Disney Plus anymore, and also, like, I wanted to know if it was worth watching the original cartoon in order to get into it, but I don't know. I'm weighing my options on that. I haven't seen Echo. To be honest with you, I don't know if I want to see Echo, because I was on Hulu. Who gives a shit? Who cares? What if I asked someone with no imagination to write, like, these MCU things? What if Peggy Carter was Captain America, and then Cap was Iron Man, and what if, like, What if like T'Challa was Star-Lord, and what if all of this, instead of being like its own individual unique sort of like Star Wars Visions unique art style sort of thing, was also tied into the wider multiverse? Because I hate you. Because we could tie everything into the multiverse instead of making our own unique things. How did Star Wars have a better anthology thing than we did? I'm gonna binge season 2. I'm just marking it here because this is just my thoughts on season 1. Season 1 of What If is fine. They keep trying to tie it to the multiverse, and I hate that they're doing that. Because as you'll find out, guys, there are literally how many things in this tied to the multiverse that actually does it well? 1, 2. We got 2. Even then, I was talking to Cranes about this. When me and Cranes were talking about Loki, one of the weird things they do is that they sort of conflate timelines with universes. It conflates time with space, and that doesn't really gel well for me, and it's just so odd. But like, these are the only two that so far manage it well, and now we've arrived to Deadpool and Wolverine. I'd put Deadpool and Wolverine about here. Now, here's a fun story. I watched Deadpool and Wolverine in 4DX. 4DX is one of those things in theaters where they try to make it like a Universal Studio sort of attraction where you're sitting there, the chairs move around with the motion of the actors. There's like water spray for certain things, and air pumps thing. It's dangerous. Never watch a movie in 4DX. It did keep me engaged, however. It added a sort of another layer of enjoyment. But Deadpool and Wolverine is a good movie because it's a Deadpool movie. Deadpool and Wolverine is a good movie because it is like actively a movie that celebrates the Fox movie, like the whole Fox universe of films. It handles the multiverse well because it's a Deadpool story that treats everything with relatively low seriousness. It is a deeply unserious film with a good emotional core, and it knows it. There's if you ever watch a Red Letter Media review, Red Letter Media's review of this movie spells it out very well. It is a goofy, fun film that treats its cameos with the proper amount of goofiness or seriousness that they deserve. The fact that Deadpool and Wolverine treats X-Men characters better than how they appear in Multiverse of Madness. The fact that there are cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine that not only are handled with more respect, but are more plot relevant than the ones that are handled in Multiverse of Madness, tells you everything you need to know. Deadpool and Wolverine is good because of what it does for the character and what it does for the characters of Deadpool and Wolverine. It gives this iteration of Wolverine a character arc that doesn't shit on the legacy of Logan. In fact, there's a thing that happens in this movie that actively wouldn't be good if it wasn't for Logan and how it treated Logan as a film. One of the characters it disrespects, it doesn't really it's like for a movie that nobody likes, but also they do it as a result of a joke that actually is funny within context. Because there's cameos from movies that nobody respects that they treat with respect, man. How is it? Granted, it's a little bit odd that that this movie ends with this whole celebration of Fox when it's kind of like if I foreclosed your house and then made a montage of how your house came to be. That's kind of weird. But I think overall what this movie does is super good,
but it's because it's not doing something beholden to the MCU, and in fact is good in spite of the fact that it's in the MCU. Which is the case for Shang-Chi, a movie that is good not because it is an MCU thing, but because you can at times watching that movie forget it's part of the MCU and only watch it for its action sequences. Wakanda Forever is good not because of how it ties into the wider MCU, but because it's a sequel to one movie, maybe 2 or 3. Guardians is a good movie. Guardians Volume 3 is a good movie, but not because of how it ties to the wider MCU, but because it's a conclusion to the Guardians of the Galaxy characters. And No Way Home is a good movie, not because it's part of the MCU, but because it's a celebration of Spider-Man as a character in film. Of the 3 most prominent live-action iterations of Spider-Man. And is that not, like, cosmically fucked up? That there are movies that are good in these 2 recent phases, not because they're part of the MCU, but in spite of it. And that every single bad thing that has come out of these last 2 phases are because they're part of the MCU and are doing MCU things. I don't know. I think that it just genuinely bothers me because I used to ride really hard for this franchise. I used to be in a group of people who rode really hard for this franchise. And I just think watching it now, especially seeing what it became, and seeing one of the biggest, most well-reviewed films of recent years be good, not because it's an MCU, but in spite of it, it's just kind of weird. I am not excited for anything down the line for the MCU because I just do not trust that they're not gonna give me one of these. Thinking about this makes me worried for whether or not they make the next Spider-Man movie more as part of the MCU. Genuinely, that terrifies me. I think that genuinely terrifies me. Especially when they again the fucking. This is all you need to know. I saw this announcement and I knew that yeah, I'm done. I don't care anymore. I can't be bothered to care that much or to be hyped for anything because if they're making decisions like this, and one of the best films in the past two phases is a film that is good because it's a Fox film and not an MCU film, is I don't care anymore, man. I just don't care. Cool, they showed off Galactus and Fantastic Four. That was more so excitement that's how they showed it off in a fireworks show for me at Comic-Con. Rather than I'm pissing my pants in excitement for the Fantastic Four, which just started filming. Superman Legacy finished filming a couple days ago. And Fantastic Four just started filming and both films are coming out next year. I just can't be bothered because I know that the likelihood we're getting one of these over one of these is super high right now. And that's bad. I think that's really, really bad. The fact that this is poking out as much as it is, it has as many in the B tier, is really bad. Because this should not be this big. The doo-doo dog water tier should not be this big. I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. I might be tempted to I might be tempted every now and then to like make a video talking about this. I might break it down more in depth instead of just yapping about like specific things, but I just think that we're in such a very bad like era for this franchise, and like I just do not trust that anything more positive will come out of it. I was actually anticipating Deadpool and Wolverine being bad because of what it would be for the MCU, and I'm actually actively surprised that it was that good. I don't know. Oh my god. Well, anyway, this here's the tier list. Again, if you have any specific questions about it, you can go ahead and go back through the VOD. But otherwise, like, this is how I feel about everything. It would take several miracles to turn the ship around. Dog, like, the likelihood of it falling apart increases day by day. It's sort of emblematic of everything wrong with the film industry itself, and I feel as though a lot of people don't necessarily understand that. I don't know, man. I'm kind of just emotionally over it at this point. Oh my god. But yeah, that's the stream, guys. Let me think. I think for members, again, I will consider watching Ultraman Rising on Sunday. So if you want to get in on the watch party for that, make sure you become a member and hit the join button, right? Again, also, if you're a member, you will be getting the opportunity to receive one of these codes for Zenless Zone Zero. Just a thought. Just a thought, guys. But yeah. Tomorrow on stream, I will be playing for the first time Honkai Star Rail. So if you want to see me fully become a Hoyo fuck, make sure you check that out. Make sure you check it out, guys. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Again, this is day 2 of a challenge I'm doing where I'm trying to upload or stream or something for the next 100 days. This is day 2. I have 98 more days left. Please support me. Please support me whenever you guys can. I need this, guys. I need to be able to get more motivation. I want to be able to do more for you guys. And the next video, I'm hoping for the next 2 videos that come out, you guys really enjoy them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm gonna go cry. Goodbye.